we've got our first caller for tonight. We're going to jump over to the phone lines, and we've got Grace, and she's calling from your neck of the woods, from Warner Robins. Hi, Grace.
Hi.
How are you this evening?
I'm good.
Great. Go ahead with your question for us tonight.
My question is, like, when two individuals are divorced and the wife is awarded half of the ex-husband's retirement, is the only way to collect that retirement is to go back to court? And if that is the case, how long, usually in the state of Georgia, do they issue the form of spousal support?
Well,
it's in the divorce decree.
It's largely going to hinge upon what type of retirement it was, and each pension plan generally has its own process. But as a result of going through a divorce, what happens is there's an equitable division of that property, and at that time, that becomes your property. So at no point do you lose that, but the question is whether or not the person who has the pension is going to pay it directly to you. And that varies based upon whether you are looking at a military retirement, whether you're looking at civil service retirement, or even any of the other major pension plans. Generally, when you do that, you would have what is known as a quadro, and we generally look at those as ancillary orders to the divorce. So if you have a quadro being a qualified domestic relations order, or if it's a military pension, you would be looking for a military pension division order. But those things generally are drafted on the back end of a divorce. The judge signs them, and then you provide them to the actual person who is processing the pension. For military, obviously, that would be the Defense Finance and Accounting Service, and if you're looking at a civil service pension, that would be the Office of Personnel Management.
Right, and I guess even with a 401k or any kind of retirement plan, shouldn't that really be handled as part of the divorce up front instead of having to come back years later and do something?
And that's usually the way that it works. The problem is not everybody is retired when they get divorced. So
right.
Sometimes you have to wait until that person retires. In some instances, not all of them, but generally if people do them as part of the divorce, check with your attorney when you actually retain. Not all attorneys do quadros, not all attorneys do military pension division orders. It just depends upon what you're looking for in your actual counsel.
And that was something I was going to mention to the viewers. Andrew, of course, being in Warner Robins, does a tremendous amount of military domestic cases, which are totally different than a conventional domestic case. Why don't you explain the difference between the two?
Yeah, the main significant difference between just a normal divorce and then a military divorce is obviously the benefits that are involved, both from the federal government and if a pension is being divided. Generally, those things tend to be a little bit more complex when you're getting into stuff on the back end, and knowing actually how to draft those orders and to divide those pensions is pretty crucial when it comes down to that being what is most likely the largest asset that the peoples have in the marriage.
Is it filed in the same court systems as would be just a typical divorce in Superior Court?
Absolutely. Federal law gives the state courts the ability to divide federal pensions. So the state court will actually issue the order or sign an order, and then you have to provide it to whoever the provider of the pension is. In the case of a military pension division order, again, that's DFAS, the Defense Finance and Accounting Service.
Okay, great.